Ansel Adams, the globally celebrated photographer, once said, "You don't make a photograph just with a camera. You bring to the act of photography all the pictures you've seen, the books you've read, the music you have heard, and the people you have loved." I agree with his valuable opinion. My name is Shohratyar. I am from Tajikistan and photography is my main occupation. I believe that every nation's identity is indebted to its contemporary culture and art, and the nobility of its people is evident in its cultural richness. It is no exaggeration to state that visual language is the most effective and expressive means of communication in sustaining and introducing a nation's identity. In addition to being a photographer, I'm also a musician, and I collaborate with the Basmara ensemble. The Basmara ensemble includes a group of brilliant music players and professional dancers who pursue the common goal of presenting the original performing arts of music and dancing of Tajikistan. Music and dancing are important components of popular culture of Tajikistan in reflecting the authenticity and nobility of the nation. The various melodies played and miscellaneous designs in traditional costumes of dancers each represent a particular region in this country. This man is Alam Jan. He is the director of the Basmara ensemble. He once told me privately that introducing Tajikistan's art to the world was not just an occupation, but rather was an intrinsic mission for him. This lady is Negina Amangolova. She is one of the prominent singers of Tajikistan. an international documentary filmmaker who once conducted a long interview with her when making a film about Tajiks' indigenous culture, emphasized that Negina possessed all necessary qualifications to serve as a cultural ambassador for Tajikistan. Nowruz is almost here, and Alam Jan is giving 3 days of rest to his group members so they can celebrate the New Year holidays with their families. I take this opportunity to take some photos of celebration of the National Nowruz Festival, which makes the beginning of spring season. In the morning of the first day of Nowruz, people from every neighborhood gather together in a vast area of the city called Avardgah for a joyful feast. People are mostly dressed in traditional costumes in these festivals. Nowruz is a rebirth of the nature. Thousands of years ago, farmers scheduled their lives based on seasons and day-night cycles until the Aryans chose Nowruz to mark the first day of their calendar year. Moderation was their principal philosophy of life, and selecting this day as the beginning of the new year was not without a solid reason. As on Nowruz, day and night are of equal length. The United Nations has inscribed Nowruz as a cultural heritage and proclaimed 21st of March as the International Nowruz Day. The Nowruz dinner includes a variety of dishes, each symbolizing a service of the Mother Nature to the humankind. It also reflects a deep gratitude to God Almighty. Bread in its different varieties is an important item in the Tajik people's diet. On the first day of Nowruz, families gather together in Avardgah, sitting on picnic mats and joyfully entertaining their guests. Some families treasure the memories of their ancestors by displaying Nowruz tokens in handicrafts. Those who can sing songs with a beautiful voice or play fine music on an instrument. This man is singing about spring and the planting season. Although processed and ready meals are abundant and available to public, Tajik housewives prefer and insist on making traditional homemade dishes using classic recipes during Nowruz holiday. Samanak or samanu is a food strongly associated with Nowruz throughout the history. It is a sweet paste made entirely from germinated wheat. These days, you can find all types of fabric with various designs and colors in the market. However, Tajik women are proud of achieving and preserving the art of embroidery and applique as an industry which has sustained for some 2,000 years. Using only needles, yarn and fabric, they create even rhythms and stunning patterns. Before going through industrialization in the past 2 or 3 centuries, man used these simple wooden bobbins to make woolen yarn from animals' fleece. Tajiks and the Aryans were the first people on this side of the world who used those primitive tools for twisting fine wool into yarn for weaving. In ancient times, and particularly during the Ashkanid era, the art of breadwork embroidery was used for embellishing colors and cuffs in military uniforms and court costumes, and occasionally for embroidering oriflammes. History tells us that Alexander of Macedon, after invading this territory, became familiar with the art and ordered that the uniforms of his troops be affixed by particular insignia to denote the bearer's rank. These young teenage girls are singing Tajik folkloric songs. The creators of these songs are generally anonymous, and no specific names are known in the history as authors of original lyrics of these songs. Rather, the ballads have been verbally transmitted by grandmothers to grandchildren across generations since ages ago.
دختر خانم اسمش چیه؟ صفیه.
Amidst these joyful crowds of millions, this sad girl caught my attention. I was told that she was unhappy with the cash gifts she had received on the occasion of Nowruz. It is customary for children to receive cash gifts called AD from elders during social visits in Nowruz. On the first day of Nowruz, the elders give AD to children, which is generally a small cash gift. Some believe the cash gifts, especially those given by grandmothers and grandfathers, should not be spent until the end of the year, and should rather be kept at home as blessing until the next Nowruz. Girls who are engaged to be married in the coming year wear their wedding dress on the first day of Nowruz to bid welcome to the new season. They do so to get the Mother Nature's blessing of the joyful married years ahead. This is part of their motivation. Their other intention is to attract the attention of their future husbands, who flaunt themselves in a different way on the other side of the congregation side. Wrestling is a popular sport here in which men grapple in a friendly manner in an attempt to pull the opponents off balance and bring him to the ground. One important Nowruz ceremony is Golgardani, which celebrates the rebirth of nature and spring blooming. It originally included plucking of flowers in flower fields by groups of people, but nowadays it is held in a symbolic manner only, with young boys and girls installing flower stands and cloth ribbon cities and Nowruz congregation sites. Young girls and boys hunting for marriage call upon the creator of nature and spring to fulfill the desires of their hearts while holding the ribbons and walking in a circle. Interestingly, the tradition of Golgardani has been the source of many love stories and marriage bonds in this country. Dancing on a wooden horse is an ancient art and has its origin in the old history. During Mongolian invasion to this land, when even wedding ceremonies were not secure against the enemy's brutal attacks, people maintained their readiness to fight the enemy or help the bride and the groom to escape. The wooden horse is a symbol of those old tactics. Despite huge popularity of computer games among the youth these days, Nowruz is an opportunity for children of today and yesterday to get familiar with and play traditional games. Swing is one of them. Carpet weaving as an art has an eternal bond with every woman in Tajikistan. For thousands of years, Tajik handmade carpets, a subcategory of Iranian carpet, have been sold around the world. There are many different types of rugs and carpets in the world, but Tajik carpets are unique in their own way. The main part of the Nowruz festival is beginning shortly. In this part, mainly art groups perform their art to their audiences. The festival of the first day of Nowruz in Avardgah, within the capital city of Dushanbe, was just over. I was waiting for my driver to come. A girl dressed in red caught my attention. She looked familiar to me. I was not sure, but I felt I had seen her before somewhere, maybe in my dreams. Her special dress, while standing among the Tajik crowd, was unique. The festival was over, but the girl was still standing among the flowers, as if she was looking for something, as if she was trying to speak to the flowers. I approached her, asking her permission to take some photos of her. When showing her the photos, I noticed that she was unintendedly present in most of the photos I had taken of Avardgah. My cell phone rang. It was my driver, and I had to go. I still thought of the accidental presence of the red-dressed girl in my photos.
از پخش سوار من با تو میگم جام گلینار من با تو میگم از پخش سوار من با تو میگم جام گلینار من با تو میگم جام گلینار من با تو میگم.
The name of this art group is Qarataq. This group has been engaged in artistic activities for over a century now, and it has run across families, from fathers to sons and mothers to daughters. Some band members have even inherited their traditional dress or musical instruments from their elders. For many years, the tune of their music and the rhythm of their dancing have been native to the mountains and steppes of the Qarataq region. Most of these artists have been with the band for a lifetime since their early childhood years. For many Tajik people, the Bozkeshi games are great traditional and an important component of every Nowruz celebration. I went to Qarataq on the second day of Nowruz in order to capture the exciting moment of this game. This equestrian game basically has two champions, the horseback rider and the horse. Bozkeshi, which literally means goat grabbing, is a traditional game on horseback whose objective is to capture the headless goat carcass. The game field, located in a plain field surrounded by mountains or leading to a river, has two key elements. One is the circle and the other is the flagpole. The mounted teams need to get the goat from inside the circle and get it over the flagpole. The horseback rider, who can get past the pole with the carcass, will own the goat, and a new goat carcass will have to be brought to the field and placed inside the circle. A very important aspect of these games is the need to respect ethics, sportsmanship, and fairness during the competition. Players are not allowed to injure or insult other players and would otherwise be banned from the games for life. In fact, the supervision of referees and presence of the veterans ensure that ethics and sportsmanship rules are met. The origin of Bozkeshi is not known to us. Some records have linked the invention of the game with horse breeding, which is as old as the history of this region. Some believe it dates back to the 11th century when Genghis Khan ruled the territory. Others tie the tradition to the period during the invasion of the Alexander of Macedon, when Iranian heroes galloped up towards enemy troops to free their captive comrades, or take enemy soldiers captive by snatching them while riding on horseback. In the long run, this military skill was transformed into a game and competition, and is now practiced only for entertainment.
خورکندی بارکندی میخچبندی در بلندی بین یکی اشتر فوش فوشندی
Next to the field, this woman is making pottage for the athletes, thus keeping alive the memories of her recently deceased husband, who was a veteran champion of these games. I was heading towards Qal'e-Hisar, a historical fortress, to take a couple of photographs. The most common traditional dresses for girls and women for Nowruz are made of satin. the color and design of ornamental satin's wrap, and woof penetrates into man's soul. Satin is a reflection of the colorful and vibrant nature of this land, where Tajik women learned, designed, wore, and presented it as a gift from generation to generation. On the third day of Nowruz, I went to Bagh-e-Ushaq, which means the lover's garden. Many young couples desire to tie the wedding knot and start their married life in this garden. Nowruz holidays are the best occasion for wedding ceremonies. In the middle of the garden, 2 trees of different breeds have coiled together since centuries ago. The twin trees symbolize an eternal love. Ah, the girl in red is here too. I was curious to know what she was doing here. I asked her to accompany me as a model for my photos. While we had a chat, she said she was a traveler and had come to visit our city just to watch our festival and Tajik dancing. She said she was coming from a land where dancing by women in public and in the open air was not a virtue and not an admirable quality. My mind was engaged with the ambiguous inherent in her simple and naive saying. How could dancing not be a virtue? If we look carefully at the nature, we realize that every creature is lively and vivacious. Birds and clouds in the sky, leaves on the trees, fountains on the grounds, all evoke harmony and balance, and each act as a piece in a symphonic orchestra. Even a solid hard rock lying in a corner is made up of thousands of vibrating particles. So how come in some lands the share of women of dancing is limited to dancing in the shadows? It reminded me of Miss Sharafat's words, who said, "Dancing is an optimistic expression of life by men and women." Madame Sharafat is a dance virtuoso who teaches dance in the sense of art for art's sake to a group of young girls gathered under the name of Padide, literally meaning phenomenon, which is an art group in Tajikistan. In designing the choreography movements, she is inspired by the reflections of her surrounding environment, be it the routine life of rural people or the depth of a mystical literature, combining them with her aspirations and teaching them in the best possible manner.
رنجید از کسی پرسه کردن مشکل است قصه ای بشکستم پیدا کردن مشکل است قصه ای بشکستم پیدا کردن مشکل است
Indeed, how is it that in some territories the share of women from dancing is just dancing in the shadows?
جان را نگاه